Ladies and gentlemen, imagine you're standing on the edge of a cliff. Below you, the trembling ground of a recession. But what lies beyond is not just a dip, it's an abyss. What's coming is not a slowdown. It is collapse in slow motion. And it's already here. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt the wind shift? Not outside, but in life. Like you're standing in a familiar room and suddenly the air goes still. The smiles seem plastic. The hope feels thin. You open the news, scroll the markets, walk into the boardroom, and something deep inside you whispers, this isn't just a downturn. This is different. See, what's coming isn't just a recession. Recessions are economic contractions. What's coming is a confrontation with our illusions, our systems, and most painfully, ourselves. We've built economies on leverage. We've built societies on distraction. We've built identities on borrowed time, and now the invoice has arrived. You think this is about GDP? No, it's about trust. It's about a generation that watched institutions crumble in real time. It's about currencies inflated on speculation, policies built on posturing, leadership defined by denial. When you build castles in the sky, don't be surprised when gravity makes the final call. The danger isn't the collapse of numbers, it's the collapse of meaning. The average person is no longer asking, how do I make money? They're asking, what does any of this even mean? Let me tell you what it means. It means the era of comfort is over. It means the world is shifting under your feet, and if you're waiting for it to stabilize, you're already behind. It means mediocrity can no longer hide behind titles, and excuses don't buy you time in a world that's on fire. You will see businesses fail not because they lacked funding, but because they lacked soul. You will see nations fracture not because of outside enemies, but because the leaders couldn't face the truth. You will see individuals break, not from pressure, but from the silence they kept while everything inside them screamed for change. And yet through it all, some will rise, but not the lucky, not the gifted, not the protected. The ones who will rise are those who are honest enough to admit that the world they built no longer serves the future they want. This isn't just about surviving, it's about recalibrating. The skills you learned yesterday may not serve you tomorrow. The networks you relied on may vanish with a tweet. The promises you made to yourself in calm waters must now be honored in the storm. So what do? You stop waiting for permission. You stop hoping for a lifeline. You look at the chaos and say, good. Now the games are over. Now we build for real. Understand this. It is no longer enough to be good at what you do. You must be rooted in why you do it. The economy might shrink, but your leadership cannot. The markets may contract, but your clarity must expand. Don't waste your energy trying to predict what breaks next. Focus instead on what you must become. This isn't about forecasting. It's about fortifying. The ones who survive what's coming aren't the ones with the best projections. They're the ones with the deepest convictions. Because when the lights go out, when the guarantees fall away, when the applause stops, the only thing left will be your belief in yourself and your ability to act in spite of fear, this moment, this shaking of the foundations. It's a gift, not a pleasant one, but a necessary one, because only when the ground shakes do we remember where we truly stand. So take the fear, take the uncertainty, take the noise and use it. Use it to rebuild your courage. Use it to refine your mission. Use it to become undeniable in a world that's forgotten what real value looks like, because what's coming may be worse than a recession, but it may also be the greatest opportunity of your life if you're brave enough to meet it head on. They said, it's just a downturn. They said, it happens every few years. They told you to ride the wave, tighten the belt, cut your expenses, and wait it out. But what they didn't say, what they won't say, is that this is not a wave. It's a tsunami, because when systems built on excess begin to crack, when the illusion of control fades and reality walks in without knocking, that's not a correction, that's a reckoning. What's coming isn't a recession. It's something far more dangerous. It's a silent, slow unraveling of everything we believed was permanent. For years, we danced on the edge, borrowed against futures we hadn't earned, consumed more than we produced, rewarded noise more than value. We became obsessed with the aesthetic of success and forgot the architecture beneath it. We normalized convenience over consequence, shortcuts over structure, entitlement over effort. And now the debt is due. This is the part where it gets uncomfortable, because I'm not here to soothe you. I'm here to warn you. The economic winter is no longer approaching. It's inside the house. The inflation, the job losses, the vanishing safety nets, that's just the smoke. The real fire is in the system. You're looking at headlines. I'm looking at patterns. Banks failing not because of bad quarters, but because the model is outdated. Governments printing lifelines while their currencies bleed. AI replacing not just jobs, but entire professions, quietly, efficiently, permanently. Supply chains breaking and never truly repairing, because the global order isn't just stretched, it's splintering. And while we scroll, while we hope, while we wait for things to go back to normal, normal is dissolving. Understand this, the old rules are gone, the safety nets have holes, the institutions you trusted are stalling in place, and the leaders you look to for direction are as lost as you are. This isn't about surviving a recession. This is about redefining your relevance in a world that's being rewritten in real time. Now let me speak to the part of you that's still negotiating with comfort. The voice in your head that says, maybe it won't be that bad. That's the most dangerous lie of all, because comfort is a drug, and when it numbs your urgency, it steals your future. You don't need calm right now. You need clarity. You don't need another motivational quote. You need brutal awareness. You don't need to wait. You need to move. This moment is asking you one question, and one question only. Can you adapt faster than the collapse around you? Because the ones who make it won't be the ones with the most talent. It'll be the ones with the most truth. Truth about their weaknesses. Truth about the fragility of their plans. Truth about how far they still have to go. This is not the time to scale your business. This is the time to fortify it. This is not the time to flex. This is the time to focus. This is not the time to complain. This is the time to compete. Because while others are still stuck in denial, you'll already be building. Understand, the world doesn't reward panic. It rewards preparation. And while the headlines sell fear, the future belongs to those who plant in winter. This is your moment, not because you feel ready, but because everything is falling apart, and in the rubble lies the raw material for reinvention. So escalate your vision, boldly. Escalate your execution, without apology. Escalate your belief, not in what was, but in what can be. And when they ask how you knew, how you saw it coming, how you moved when others froze, you'll tell them, I stopped waiting for a recovery. I started preparing for reality. Let's be honest, most people are waiting. Waiting for the next signal, waiting for better news, waiting for things to settle. But here's the problem with waiting. It gives the illusion of safety while robbing you of control. And control is everything when the world is on fire. This moment we're living through, it's not a pause. It's not a cycle. It's not just a recession. It's a pivot point in history. And you don't survive that by being passive. You survive it by being purposeful. But purpose is not an idea. It's not a slogan on your wall. It's not something you stumble across on a weekend retreat. Purpose is forged in the furnace of discomfort. It is a decision, a choice. It is action with intent. Too many are busy being busy. You ask them, what are you doing about it? And they give you a schedule. But activity without clarity is motion without meaning. And right now, if your actions are not aligned with purpose, you are wasting time you no longer have. You need to get clear, crystal clear. What are you building that outlives the noise? What value are you bringing that no algorithm can replace? What are you preparing that can't be wiped out by one market crash or one platform change? Because make no mistake, there's a shaking happening in the economy, in business, in leadership, and it is merciless to the unprepared. Right now is the time for reinvention, not reaction. This is not about looking busy. This is about being brutal with yourself, asking the uncomfortable questions. Does my strategy serve the world I'm entering, or the one that just died? Because the old world is gone, and what's coming isn't just a harder version of what we had. It's a completely different game. In that game, only clarity wins. So how do you move with clarity? First, stop chasing everything. That's desperation in disguise. Focus is a weapon now. If it doesn't drive value, cut it. If it doesn't scale impact, let it go. If it doesn't prepare you for uncertainty, it's a liability. Second, kill your comfort. Comfort is the cage that holds high potential hostage. If you are comfortable right now, you're not moving fast enough. You're not growing, you're not leading. Third, measure backwards. Don't just fantasize about where you want to be. Define what it will take to get there, then walk it back to what you must do today. Precision beats ambition. Fourth, build daily discipline, not motivation, not hype. Discipline, the boring, unsexy, consistent execution of the right actions. Every day, especially on the days you don't feel like it. Fifth, then hear me on this: stop outsourcing responsibility. The market won't save you. Your job title won't protect you. Your network won't move if you don't. You are the one, the only one. The moment you internalize that, you become dangerous. Your job now isn't to survive the next 12 months. Your job is to redefine what leadership looks like over the next decade. What systems do you need to build now? What team do you need to grow now? What habits must die now? Because this is war, not against others, not against markets, but against the version of you that is unprepared for what's ahead. And in war, the untrained panic, the uncommitted break, the unfocused fall, but those who are clear, clear in purpose, clear in strategy, clear in execution, they rise. Not because it's easy, not because they're lucky, but because they've made a decision and then acted with obsession. This is not your season to wish. This is not your season to watch. This is your season to move. With precision, with aggression, with purpose. So don't wait for recovery. Create your own. Don't ask for certainty. Build capacity. Don't seek comfort. Chase conviction. Because what's coming is bigger than a recession. But so are you if you choose to be. Leadership is not about the title. It never was. It's not about sitting at the top of the org chart or being the loudest in the room. It's not in your LinkedIn bio, not in your Instagram highlights, and definitely not in your email signature. Real leadership, it's what you do when everything starts falling apart. We live in an age of noise. Everyone's posting, everyone's performing, everyone's pretending, and yet very few are actually leading. Because leading demands something very few people are willing to give. Truth, not convenient truth, not filtered truth. The real, unpolished, uncomfortable truth. The kind that doesn't trend well. The kind that doesn't get applause in the room. The kind that doesn't come with likes or shares. But the kind that makes people move. The world doesn't need more motivational speeches. The world doesn't need more influencers. What the world desperately needs are leaders who aren't afraid to say, "This is where we are, and this is where we need to go, even if it's hard, even if it's painful, even if it's unpopular." That's authentic leadership. It's standing up when it would be easier to sit down. It's telling the truth when silence would be more profitable. It's walking the path when there's no spotlight, no recognition, no promise of reward. It's being consistent when everything around you is shifting. It's being steady when the storm arrives, and it's being clear when confusion is trending. Too many people want the perks of leadership without the pressure. They want the followers but not the responsibility. They want to be trusted but don't tell the truth. They want to be remembered but are afraid to take a stand. But here's the thing, leadership is not about being liked. It's about being respected. It's about doing what's necessary, not what's easy. It's about making decisions that won't make sense to most, but will make history for many. You don't get to hide behind trends when you lead. You don't get to blame the economy. You don't get to wait for the government to fix it. You don't get to outsource direction. You are the direction, and it's not about perfection either. Authentic leadership has nothing to do with pretending to have it all figured out. In fact, the power lies in saying, "I don't know everything, but I'm willing to do everything I can." It's in showing up when you don't feel ready. It's in owning your mistakes before they own your reputation. It's in holding people accountable without crushing their spirit. It's in building something real in a world that's obsessed with what's viral. You lead with your decisions. You lead with your consistency. You lead with your example, because people won't follow what you say, they'll follow who you are. Right now, in this climate of uncertainty, people are desperate for certainty. They're tired of promises. Tired of talk, tired of masks, they're looking for something, and someone they can trust. That's your opportunity, not to be perfect, not to be famous, but to be real, to show people what integrity looks like in action, to show people what resilience feels like in motion, to show people what courage sounds like, especially when your voice is shaking. Because here's the truth: leadership will cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you popularity. It will cost you shortcuts. But what it gives you back is legacy. So if you want to lead, don't worry about being impressive. Be intentional. Be consistent. Be honest. Be yourself fully, loudly, unapologetically. Because in a world of noise, authenticity is the sharpest weapon. And when the dust settles, because it always does, people won't remember the trends. They won't remember the filters. They won't remember the hype. They'll remember the one voice that told the truth, the one leader who stood firm, the one person who made them believe again. Be that leader. Let me take you back. A young entrepreneur walks into a boardroom with big ideas, sharp slides, and even sharper ambition. He's done the work, he's got the data, he's got the pitch, but what he doesn't have, what no business school ever taught him, is this: the rules have changed. See, he thought success was about logic. He thought a brilliant plan would win the room. But the room wasn't moved by spreadsheets. It was moved by story. It was moved by connection. It was moved by truth. So the pitch failed, not because the numbers were wrong, but because the energy was empty. The lesson: strategy without soul will never scale. We've been taught to worship models, frameworks, diagrams, and don't get me wrong, they have their place. But in the real world, in the chaos of collapsing systems, rising tension, vanishing certainty, people follow those who feel like they know the way, not those who just think they do. That's why storytelling matters, because it doesn't just share information. It transfers belief. Right now, we are not short of information. We are drowning in it. What we lack is clarity. What we lack is meaning. What we lack is a story worth aligning our effort to. And when you combine storytelling with strategic insight, you don't just move people, you move markets. Because here's what the data won't tell you. It won't tell you why your customers don't trust you. It won't tell you why your staff is disengaged. It won't tell you why the business is stalling despite positive projections. That lives in the story. That lives in the narrative underneath the numbers. Let's be clear. Strategy matters, structure matters, discipline matters, but they must orbit a purpose people can feel, not just understand, feel. I've sat in rooms with founders who couldn't explain their business in plain language, who knew their profit margin down to the decimal, but couldn't articulate why their business matters, who had 5-year plans, but couldn't win 5 minutes of real attention from their team. Because if your people can't see themselves in your vision, they won't fight for it. And if your customers don't feel your offer solves something real, they won't buy it. No matter how clever your funnel is, you need to speak to the human problem, not the mechanical one. That's how revolutions start. Not with code, with conviction. The businesses that will survive what's coming are not just the ones with cash. They're the ones with clarity, the ones that have built a strategic engine and wrapped it in a story people believe in. And this isn't about faking it. It's not about a fancy tagline or some recycled mission statement. It's about telling the truth, clearly, boldly, and consistently. Your people need to hear the why. Your clients need to feel the difference. Your market needs to know your edge. Because in crisis, people cling to direction. They cling to leaders who can speak to both head and heart. You want a future-proof business, then tell a future-facing story. Stop saying, "We're just like everyone else, but cheaper." Stop trying to win with convenience, win with conviction, win with alignment, win with design. Tell me what problem you're obsessed with solving. Show me how your solution is both scalable and personal. And tell me the story of why you refuse to fail. Because at the end of the day, people don't invest in ideas. They invest in belief. They invest in energy. They invest in movements. And strategy without story is just noise, but story backed by strategy, that's a weapon. So here's what I'm telling you. Marry the message to the model, build the engine, but don't forget the fuel. Set the direction, but don't forget to inspire the drive, Because when this storm clears, and it will, what will be left standing won't be the biggest, it'll be the clearest, the most authentic, the most human. Tell that story, build that strategy, and become undeniable. So here's what I want you to remember. The recession is only the rehearsal. The main act is structural breakdown, disruption, dislocation. But you're not powerless. Stand firm. Communicate with clarity of purpose. Reframe your context. Build for adaptability. Cultivate emotional resilience, because what's coming might be worse than a recession. But so is your ability to rise above it. The abyss may be ahead, but you are not falling. You are evolving. Thank you.